Two contrarian calls that we have for the mid to long-term macro environment are, number one, we will have moderate inflation with rapid nominal growth, and China's artificial intelligence complex is by far not as advanced as we think it is. This is a Not Even Wrong podcast. It's January 11, 2021. This is Delco. For the day since the last update, the fund is down 3%, so we're down about 10.3% for the day. The market's down 80 basis points. For the year, we're up 19.5%. The market's up 1%. We're outperforming by 18.5%. So if you put $100 in Orange Capital Partners on January 1st, 2021, you would have $119.30, and you would have $101 if you did the same thing with the S&P 500. Let's get right into it. There's two big contrarian calls we're making. This is a very important period of our fund where we are recalibrating our macro view. So our purpose is to generate wealth by investing in fundamentally new concepts and engineering practices with large impact. So we are not a macro fund, we're not a relative value fund in that sense, but we have a lot of work to do in terms of understanding the environment in which we then deploy capital to innovative, disruptive industries. It is important because, not necessarily because we think that the macro environment can be detrimental necessarily, but it is important for things like leverage, timing, particularly leverage, because when we have a view like now, we believe that we are looking at 5 to 8 years of rapid nominal growth with moderate inflation, so a high real economic growth. Then you are looking at a low interest rate environment with very high returns for innovative kind of companies, and that is of course very, very interesting. So we are deploying a bit more leverage than usual, roughly 15% leverage in our fund right now. So the two big contrarian calls, the one we've spoken about recently, it is the inflation question. I have just finished an episode on the German podcast side, and the question was, where is the inflation? I've contrasted this with the Fermi paradox and said, where are the aliens? Enrico Fermi asking, where are the aliens? So we're kind of using that as an analogy. Where is the inflation? We have all the reasons. We have trillions of reasons to believe that there should be inflation. Trillions of reasons, of course, meaning trillions of dollars are being pumped into the economy by the Fed. So where is the inflation? And I want to be short here because I've discussed this at length before. The main principle is that we have a big geographic arbitrage in the United States driving down the main cost, the main drivers of inflation, which are housing costs, healthcare, education, and safety costs. Those are the main drivers that drive inflation in this country. And because of this big arbitrage, we have a lower pressure on inflation. Even though we have printed trillions of dollars, we also are creating enormous value just by increasing the productivity, which means, let's say, a software engineer in San Francisco used to cost $180,000. I can employ the same person now for $120,000 in Austin, Texas, with the same exact output. That is a 30% improvement of productivity, and that goes a long way against the potential increase in inflation. I want to now make the bridge to the other argument, and it's related. It's an epistemological argument. That's why it's related. Why do we believe that China and China's AI complex is not as advanced as everybody thinks? And I want to first state the argument, then bring the explanation, and then the conclusion. The argument is simply, we believe, we meaning the Western media, Silicon Valley, New York, Wall Street, Europe, everybody's afraid of China. China is advanced here, China is advanced there. Our argument is China is not. It's very similar to the Soviet Union. We were very scared of the Soviet Union. We thought that they have figured it all out. It turned out that the emperor had no clothes. Once the curtain fell, once Gorbachev gave up, we saw that the Soviet Union had really nothing to offer except Kalashnikovs and a bunch of nuclear weapons. Similarly, we think China is way further back than we think, and it's simply because in order to have an advanced technological society, You need to have an advanced political society, an advanced cultural society, an advanced philosophical. You have to advance in all these vectors of a society. You can't just advance in one direction. This is the fundamental argument directly related to The Beginning of Infinity and David Deutsch, to Karl Popper, also Brad Hall, the podcaster. I want to give him some credit here. Basically, the conclusion is that you cannot just progress in one dimension. Progress is multidimensional. Aesthetics, culture, arts, philosophy, technology, they're all related concepts, and you cannot just advance in one. And this is an epistemological explanation for why we believe China is not as advanced as many people think. The reality is also that what's coming out of China, there's a lot of headlines with not that much actual substance. And this is very, very key, in particular when it comes to self-driving cars and AI. We have concepts like, for example, the situation right now with Tesla and NIO. This is a good example. So NIO is going to kill Tesla. They are advanced. They are this, they are that. Well, of course, NIO is a competitor, 100 billion in market cap. We have to take it seriously. But fundamentally, NIO is not a competitor to Tesla, because Tesla really competes in lowering the cost structure of electric cars. That is what Tesla is actually doing, and NIO is not in that business. And this is an episode for itself. But the problem that NIO has is actually in a small, if you want, in a nutshell, the problem that China has, which is you can adapt technologies, you can piggyback on ideas, but it's not coming from you. You don't have that innate process of Popperian epistemology of replacing ideas with better ideas. That is not innate with the Chinese culture. And that's why they are lagging behind. Very similar to Japan and even similar to Korea. Korea, although is definitely, South Korea is much further advanced than many Asian countries, but you don't have that fundamental, innate, libertarian, free understanding of culture. And that is the key, in my view, to why we in the West still have the lead, why China is not a threat. It doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. We still have to deal with competition, low-cost competition. China is a threat to Tesla in terms of low-cost electric cars. Tesla has to keep lowering the cost of $25,000 cars is the answer. We've discussed this in previous episodes. So it's not so easy. The second, third followers can be a threat. But the idea that our society will be dismantled by the advancements of Chinese technology, I think, is overstated. And in particular, it applies to our Tesla investment. It also applies to our CRISPR and synthetic biology investment, because that's the same conversation. The same applies here. If I read, for example, Kevin Davis's book, Editing Humanity, he talks about the advancements in Chinese gene editing. We have the twins, which were germline edited and all that. Yes, there are certain things, certain vectors, certain outliers that maybe are showing advancement. But fundamentally, we don't believe that there is a threat in terms of competitiveness, in terms of also disruptive power coming from there. And therefore, we are confident about the positioning of the portfolio companies. This call goes much further than that. This call goes towards a call where we have a moderate inflation with rapid growth, with a lot less competition than is feared by the market. So this is opening up a scissor of opportunity, margin opportunity, growth opportunity that is extremely good for investors. It does not take the burden away from the companies. I've discussed this in the previous episode today, that we have, for example, the chief scientific officer of Editas leaving. We still depend on ingenuity and the capability of entrepreneurs to straddle the incredible challenge of having rapid growth and adaptation and stability. So this is not easy. But the only society, the only fundamental philosophical cultural base that can actually deliver solutions to these problems is a society like ours, an open, democratic society, a Popperian society. This is the fundamental call. This is the call that is going to make us the kind of wealth that we expect to make according to our mission. Thank you.